people engaging in conversation, trying to get players used to going deeper into conversations. There's a difference between, and I get into this quite a lot with players. There's a difference. Look, I could have lined up a job. We're just as a personal development manager, you're a small part of that, but you need to ask a few difficult questions at times players look at you like, carry on developing as a person and you will find something that makes sense. Like there's some of the time I'm going to find out things for players.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in today. This week's episode is brought to you in conjunction with Upskilled and their mini MBA. If you want to get the skills and knowledge to help move you forward without all of the big expense, then this mini MBA with Upskilled is the right way to go. Follow the link in the show notes and you can get $500 off.
So definitely welcome again. This time we're going to record our chat and let everybody else enjoy it too.
Nice. No, thank you. It's nice to catch up, Brian. It was nice to have the opportunity to float some ideas with you around, would have been around 2 years ago now. So nice to actually catch up and maybe share some of the things that have happened since then, what's going on, and what it's like now on the ground as well. So yeah, no, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, let's kick off just to catch everyone up to speed. Tell us about yourself, what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, so was an ex-professional rugby player, so retired from professional rugby around 3 years ago. Played my rugby for Ospreys. Managed 3 games at our local rivals, Scarlets, when I went down there on loan, and then managed to finish off my career by playing for the Barbarians, which is like a select team, like pretty prestigious team, and then played 2 years semi-pro in the transition away from professional rugby. But in the meantime, I've been working a lot in athlete support or athlete care now, under a lot of different banners in different places. But went to Swansea University first of all to work there for 2 years, looking after scholarship athletes across a range of different sports and obviously a range of different academic routes as well within the university. And then been lucky enough over the last year to be with the Welsh Rugby Players Association, look after the personal development of the players within the Ospreys region, which is my home club, which is really nice to be back there doing that. And also lead up all the mental health and well-being for the Welsh Rugby Players Association as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool role. I love going to work every day, which is everyone told me make the most of rugby because you're going to love rugby. But when you finish, you're not going to do a job that you love going to every day. So I feel like I still haven't started work, which is really nice to say at 34.
Absolutely. And look, you've packed a lot in, even since we were chatting. But you've packed a lot in since. I'll say starting to finish actually playing. A lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts of trying to, I guess, really have an action-oriented role, a role where you can make decisions on supporting players. And I mean, how are you finding being a PDM then?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely love it. I never know what conversation's going to come across the desk, or when you go and say, morning, how are you, to somebody, you never know what potential responses you're going to get. That's amazing to have that. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you on top of different things. And it's also a role that I've had to get comfortable with saying, I'm not actually sure about that. Let me do some work, let me do some research, let me get into that a little bit more, or let me ask some questions somewhere else, and being comfortable from that point of view of, not you always, you might be the first person that it comes to, but it might be signposting, it might be getting some other knowledge from other roles. So yeah, absolutely loving it, and feel very privileged to be in the position I am as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just describe for everyone, because it is a role, lots of people who I do speak to in and around this podcast, and obviously in the space we work in, they often wonder what is that day like for a PDM, and perhaps starting today, what's happening for you today?
Yeah, I often wonder as well what the day's going to be like as well. So no, I think the positive is every day's different, but that's hard obviously for people to get their heads around. But it's generally, going into the day. For me, I always prioritize a list of players who I know I need to go and see, whether that's because maybe a course has come in for them and that I need to get them enrolled in it. Maybe it's because I haven't had a catch up with them for a while. Maybe it's because they asked a question last week and I was going back to them with an answer. So generally, I have a list of people who I'm going to see. Then it's going around maybe your planning side of things. Oh, I know I was supposed to chase to get this meeting involved. I know I spoke to a contact in maybe an education setting or an apprenticeship setting last week and I haven't chased those up. Let's speak to them. Then it's speaking to your team manager or Ospreys to say, look, I need some time aside to be able to put this workshop in. Can we have a look at the calendar over the next 6 weeks to sort of see when that's best fit? And then maybe speaking to maybe the general manager of the club and saying, like, what's going on at the moment? Is everything flowing as it's supposed to be? And then it's a little bit of what I like to call ad hoc time as well, where you're having to walk around the training facility, just catching up those corridor conversations, giving people time and giving people the space to maybe plant a seed. Sometimes it's find out some information that you haven't got. Other times it's just having a really blank canvas to a conversation and going, hey, how are you? Like, I'm seeing you this morning, how you doing? And then you sometimes you do need a bit of time aside to be able to have those conversations as well, because they can be really open and honest conversations, and if you don't put time aside for that, you kind of think you're too busy to have them, or you make other people think you're too busy to have them, when actually that's the most important part of your role as well.
Yeah, those connections, just meeting with people in a casual setting when no one's asking for anything, but it's building that relationship, is perhaps one of the most important things of the role.
So important. And how good that you get time in your day to be able to go and do that. Like, that's something that puts a smile on my face every day. You're like you sort of could look around, like, you couldn't do it for free, but you sort of look at your role and go, I would do this for free because I love what I do as well. So we all know we couldn't go without paying our mortgage and our bills, but we also go, if you're lucky enough to love your job and be able to have that mindset about it, it's brilliant, and it's so interesting from that personal development point of role. It could be the most basic of personal development, where it's even people engaging in conversation, trying to get players used to going deeper into conversations, or giving thought-provoking parts of conversation to. It could be professional development, it could be shadowing in work, it could be somebody looking at a new apprenticeship or new opportunity, or looking for a new course. That personal development into professional development is amazing. Like, how different it is. Or sometimes I know a couple of players do things on a Wednesday, because generally our Wednesday's off, and then on a Thursday it's like, oh, how was yesterday? How did it go? And then some of the players are doing something you've got like no knowledge in, and you're like, they start explaining to you, and like, whoa, let's go back a step. I know I set you up on this course maybe 2 years ago, but I haven't got a clue where you are. And then, or others, it's like a couple of players at the moment are doing their plumbing, and I did my plumbing qualifications around 10-15 years ago, and like going back to say, oh, I remember that, and then I'm like laughing and joking with them, telling them about the time that I fell through a ceiling doing what they're doing at the moment, and you're having those conversations. They're like, oh, I didn't know you did that. So it's nice to, like, obviously lean on your experience, but remind the players it's all about them, and they're doing a brilliant job in like going to seek those opportunities as well.
And I know you mentioned falling through a ceiling. That's something that I definitely want to come back to. Okay, I had that already on my list. I was like, this one, I've got to make sure it's public. If it wasn't, it is now. But before we step back to that, I'm actually interested, even in that shift that you mentioned, I asked what that typical day is like. And, you're a pro player for a long enough time where you pretty much know what your week, what 10 months of the year is going to look like, and you've got that structure. That's a big shift for you to go from being a player to, with that rigidity of the structure, to one where, wow, every day is kind of different. Do you get a sense that it's very different? Have you had to adjust to that?
Do you know, the positive for me is that I've always had still enough of a schedule by working with athletes, players. You've always had enough of a schedule of theirs to follow. It sort of gives you your thing, but then it's also looking at them, like when can you have the most impact, when looking at their schedule, when they're going to have the most time. And then because it's interesting, we've got 4 PDMs as in across one in each club in Wales, and like all of us will do it slightly different because it's what suits in that environment as well. So luckily it hasn't taken that much adjustment because the schedules that I've been linked with have given me enough of a structure to not completely lose it. But it's also given me enough flexibility to be able to at times take my daughters to school before I come in, which you don't have that luxury when you play. In the fact of I get seeing the players getting ready to go on trips, and I'm going, oh, it's nice not to have to pack your bags from that point of view as well. So you get enough of, from my personal point of view, it's given me enough structure to stay in and not fall out of structure, because I genuinely believe structure is quite important for a lot of us, even though we don't like it at times. Or we don't. I think some people don't like it. It's not they don't like it; they fall out of love with what's in that structure rather than the fact of that there's a structure there. And I think there's a difference between those two things. But that my role now gives me plenty of structure to work around, but also gives me enough flexibility to look right. Yeah, but I could go in at 7 o'clock there, but I'm not going to be able to see the players for the next 3 hours. You may as well go into your admin in that time and then actually finish later that afternoon, because look at that time in the afternoon. I can arrange a meeting. I can plan from that point of view who I'm going to go and see, how I'm going to see them, how I'm going to have those conversations. So yeah, it's probably a luxury in my role to have a bit of both flexibility and structure.
Hi, I want to take this moment to thank Upskilled and their mini MBA for sponsoring this week's session. One of the great things about their mini MBA is it allows you to gain the skills and knowledge to help propel you that little bit further forward. It gets you understanding the vocabulary in the room and also gives you some of those skills to navigate the corporate career, the government career, or indeed stepping into not-for-profit. So big thanks for Upskilled and the mini MBA for sponsoring this week. And hey, check it out. Link in the show notes. You can get $500 off.
Yes, that's right. And actually, the way you make it sound really, the sound about the structure is important, but sometimes it's what you're structured around.
Yeah,
That is important there as well. And so if you lose love for that, then the structure itself goes out the window too. And yeah, that's actually quite an interesting way of thinking about it, because I know for many, especially in the later years of the career, you might fall out of love with it all. And it's then having to rekindle and find, well, why did I start in the first place?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I speak to a lot of players around like post when they've transitioned out, and I say like, why don't you train anymore? And they're like, oh, I find it hard to put it in. I say all the time, I thought you used to hate the structure. I thought you used to hate that. You can't hate it that much if you can't even structure it to get it back into your lifestyle now. So yeah, and then they're like, oh yeah, it was so much easier when it was just in your routine, wasn't it? And it's just getting it back to where how much of a priority, what can take a hit, how much are you willing to how much do you realize is having an impact on you negatively, to then also how much you willing to sacrifice in the meantime to get that back in. And it's for a lot of things. It's also that goes into prioritizing when you're playing, put in education or learning or development into your structure, because your structure's set, you're used to it, and you're like, you think you're busy, you think you can't add things, but then actually you look at it and you realize, you start doing it and you're like, it doesn't add that much actually, does it? It doesn't change that much. I really enjoy what I'm doing, so I don't mind adding those 4 or 5 extra hours that I've been adding as well.
So let's go to, I guess, where your passion began. When you were growing up in sport, was it always rugby, or were there other sports that were important to you?
I tried other sports. I was crap. It'd be fair to say. I can say that quite openly and honestly. I did try other things, but nothing really clicked with me and really took my passion from that point of view. And yeah, I'll be honest, from a rugby point of view, I probably lacked a lot of skills even in that area, but loved it, really enjoyed it, and was willing to work as hard as I possibly could to maximise any seed of potential that I did have as well.
Yeah. So As you were growing up, then at what point did you start to realise, hey, there's a bit of talent, I can maybe go pro?
Probably very late on, in fairness. I remember going to college. I'd just been dropped from Wales under 16s, so sort of thought more opportunity to make only the boys who make Wales under 16s. They're going to be the ones who, over the next couple of years, progress. And then I had an opportunity to go to a local college, which at the time was one of the best rugby colleges in Wales. And so the lecturer said to me when I got there, a brilliant man, said to me, like, you give me everything you can this year, and I promise you'll be with Wales 18s at the end of the year. And I was like, wow, like, just been dropped from my own under 16s team, and now you're telling me I could get into the under 18s, which is a year up. And I was like, right, it's a year. Let's just give him everything. Like, what is there? Like, I just sacrificed the year, whatever it looks like. And in fairness, probably for that year, I would have been nearly every time one of the first in the gym, one of the last out of the gym, same on the field, asking could I do anything extra. And yeah, he was right. At the end of the year, managed to get picked for Wales under 18s a year up. And I was like, oh, it's not that bad, is it? You only have to sacrifice that much. And it probably just got those habits into me, that the fact that I do think luck has to go on your side, but I think the harder you work, the more opportunities for luck to fall in place happens as well. So, I always go back to, I was very lucky to meet Gareth Nicholas, my lecturer at that point. But if I didn't put the hard work in that I promised as well, I was never going to get the luck. That luck wasn't worthwhile as well. So I think it balances up on those things as well.
Yeah, it does. If you think back to that time, what made you believe that he was right?
I don't think I believed that he was right. I think I more thought, I'm going to regret it if I don't do this now. He's offered me this. In a way, was it better to look back at the end of the year and say, mate, I've given you everything and I haven't got anywhere near where I said he was going to get? Or was it worse? So I think that feeling of it's going to be worse getting there and going, oh, maybe he was right. Imagine like just missing out on selection and them saying, oh, you're not quite fit enough to get in here. And I'm going, I could have got in there if I had listened to him at the start of the year. So I think the fear of regret was weighed heavy on me. And yeah, and I think when you've committed as well. So if you're in, you're in. So that was my thing. I told him all year. And those days when you turn up on a Monday morning and you're tired and you go like, I'm supposed to be in the gym now. It's like, no, you're in the gym now. Not you're supposed to be, you're in the gym now. And you manage to pull yourself through a couple of those missed those opportunities I'd normally probably miss out on. And then, and you get there and you go, okay. Well, if I've got these people who help me at the right stages and I'm willing to commit like I say I'm going to commit, surely there's an opportunity of making it. And then I'll be honest, right, I got to under 20s. I went to an under 20s World Cup with Wales. That was like my first year of under 20s. I played like 2 years. In the first year, I went to the Junior World Cup. I done my ACL, pretty bad injury in one of the last games, and I thought, even if it is over now, I'm so chuffed for the last couple of years. I put everything in, but I was like, right, have the same commitment to what you've put in over the last couple of years to your rehab now, and just see if you can get back from it. But I was like, I always thought then, from that point of view, it was like an unbelievable lesson for me to go, like, enjoy what you do, like appreciate what you do, because some things are out of your control. That, like, doing your ACL at that point was completely out of my control. It felt, well, a bit of poor tackle technique as well, but it was like sort of out of your control in terms of got through a World Cup, got all the way to your last game, just do it on the way home. And I was like, right, let's live the moment. Let's live the best we can to this, as in terms of, if you're committed, you're all in, you're giving it everything. But and then at least if something ends or something doesn't go your way, at least you don't have to live there with the regret of, I wish I did this, I could have put a little bit more in, because that's not a regret I want to live with.
No, and it's interesting, but there is a book I often, although as I'm saying it, I've forgotten the author, but The Power of Regret, and it is one of those where regret can be a motivator in
Yeah,
the sense, as long as you learn from it. And what you're talking about there is, wanting to learn, having a sort
yeah.
of positive approach to those regrets to drive you forward. And it then makes me wonder, what do you think the coach or the lecturer, what do you think they saw in you to think, oh, with a bit of effort, you could go far?
Yeah, I think there must have been not naturally, obviously, quite a big man for that side at that point. I also think he knew if he got the best out of me, that it was going to be positive for the college anyway, in terms of the impact it could have had on the team that he was coaching. I also think, I think he's seen a determination even from the year before, of going like, he probably could be a bit fitter. I probably couldn't help him on his skills, but actually the basics are there. And this guy's, even when he gets knocked back down, is willing to work. So I think there was a level of foundation there. That he knew he could work with and add value to what he was already doing. But he was also going, I think he understood the influence he could have as well, if I fully committed as well. So I think it was a nice balance between knowing that there was something there, but also knowing what he could add as well, which I think we should never shy away from as well, knowing where we can have impact and where we can put energy for people. And I think that comes around into my role now as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, you're looking for that something
Yeah,
in order to, where you can see a spark in
yeah.
many respects. And well, I guess for you, being a player, starting to have those dreams about where you could go, what position, what was your current situation? Because I'm keen to understand how, where academic or sort of that academic focus or trying to continue, where did that come in and how did you find that balance?
I think that goes back to that ACL injury. Going, you never know how long rugby's going to last. So that was a big one for me. My wife, which was my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now, and my in-laws, they were always on me as well, as in like, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Like, rugby's not going to last forever. What else are you going to do? And because I started exploring that so early, it just gave me so many opportunities to see different things. Like, I think I love people who are masters in certain areas, and I think like mastery is so like amazing, and like I love speaking to people in those certain areas. But I also commend people who have gone out there and tried different things, and I'm probably more of a trier than a master of any individual thing, which is actually quite good for the role I'm in now, because you sort of understand quite a few different parts of things. So like I went on, first of all, I did my foundation degree in sports coaching. Then I realized, look, if I have another ACL injury or another nasty injury and my career's over, I don't really want to be around sport. So then it was like, okay, what else are you going to do? Then I went to do my plumbing qualification, which they'll come into their foot through the ceiling instant a little bit later. Went to do that, realized how hard people have to work for their money. Everybody likes to tell you how much tradesmen earn, but they don't also like to tell you that they work 7-day weeks and how hard they graft for that. Then I went to do like leadership and management qualifications and shadowed some different businesses and people in different businesses. Found that fascinating. And then I was coming probably towards the end of my career where I was like, right, I need to focus in on an area now. You've gone so broad, something needs to come together. And I was probably coming back around to the idea of being involved in rugby, because my career had gone on longer than I was expecting. And I thought, I wouldn't mind. First of all, I was looking at working with sort of youths who hadn't had the best upbringing. So I was going to do my social care degree. Couldn't fit it in. Got told clearly from an hours point of view, you'll never fit it in from a rugby point of view. So I was like, okay, let's have a look at some other options. Then somebody was like, what about teaching? And I was like, I wouldn't mind working with like 16 to 18-year-olds. So they were like, instead of doing your teaching qual, why don't you do your lecturing qualification? So it's like your post-compulsory teaching qualification. I was like, that sounds a good idea. So I'd sat around, I had a mentor, I had my personal development manager who was working at the Ospreys at the time, Tim Jones, absolute legend, class. But I'd also go outside and speak to people who like I really trusted outside and bring those ideas together just in case there was something else sparked. And I went to see the one who I went to see external. She was my old Welsh teacher, now owns a company in Cardiff. She's an amazing woman anyway. And like went to see Gwar, and I was like, right. She was like, what are you going to do for the next 6 months? So that qualification doesn't start for 6 months. I was like, put my feet up. Like, why wouldn't I put my feet up now? And she was like, oh, well, you love speaking to people. You love interacting with people. Like, why don't you go and do an introduction to counselling course? It'll be like a really good skills for teaching or whatever you do. And I went to do an introduction to counselling course. It only lasted 12 weeks, but changed my life in terms of like everything, how I seen things, my perspective, and yes, led me down a route around that mental health, well-being, connection side of things. It's like really opened the doors for me in terms of that. So as soon as I'd done that, I'd done my post-compulsory education and training qualification, got that done, and still didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I pitched some ideas to some people around what I'd like to use the introduction to counselling qualification for, and the mental health first aid instructors qualifications that I started racking up in the background, and was like, I think we should do more in sport around like looking after young athletes. So pitched the idea to go on. Sorry,
Lloyd,
Ryan, you go.
I guess the bit I'm interested in here is there's a lot of experimentation that's taking place.
Loads.
Right. I want to touch first on the support, because those courses don't come for free. Getting the time to do that. So how did you manage, one, your time, but two, also paying into these courses? Was there a support structure that you could lean
on? First of all, there wasn't a support, and there wasn't that individualised support within rugby as personal development managers. But about halfway through my career, that came into play, where there was somebody there, but there still wasn't funding. Some of those qualifications I managed to get at the time, because there was like funding for one or two of those qualifications. I managed to get into those. Other ones just paid for myself, like the plumbing paid for myself, and it was sort of, look, if you're not going to earn any money from rugby, you're going to have to earn money from somewhere else. So you may as well start making those sacrifices now. And there was a couple of £100 here and there. It was nothing. Luckily, it was nothing to degree level where you're paying £9,000 a year. So I didn't have to dip into the pot too much from the academic point of view. But it was always had people in the background. What are you going to do next? How are you getting ready for that? How are you planning for it?
And that's really, fascinating to hear, because like you said, that the structure that you're getting wasn't quite there. It came in as you were developing, or coming through as a player, and you obviously you're playing top flight rugby, but you're making the time. How can you make the time when you look and then at your team back then? How many of them were as active as you were?
Probably not many, be fair to say, but that's not to downplay the players. Many would have been. I would have been Monday at the time, Wednesday nights in college, and then Wednesday all day working with a plumber. That probably would have been the busiest of the structures through it, but you sort of realise that you get there, you can't wait to go to rugby on a Thursday morning, because you realise how hard it is on a Wednesday to earn money. Another time, in fairness, I know I'm not allowed to say it because of HMRC, but my boss was giving me like £20 cash, and I was like, what am I doing this for? And he was like, said to him, I don't need the money. Like, I'm not doing this for the money. He's like, nah, I need to give you something. So it was like that compromise in between. He feels like he's ticked the box from that point of view and thing. But I was like, wow, I've grafted to pay for this. And then you go in, you look at his contract negotiations, and you see some of the figures. And I'm going, well, this is pretty decent money compared to that. Anyway, it gives you a real perspective on terms of everything else as well.
Yeah, and that was the bit I know from our conversations. The plumbing, I feel, it really gave you that perspective in some respects before retiring from the game, when it hits you and you realise you were coming back from the injury, but then even though you're going through degrees and getting those types of qualifications, there was something about you that wanted to learn, or again, that mastery of the trade. And what was your rationale behind plumbing? And please tell us how skilled you were and what mastery
There
you
was
developed.
absolute zero mastery going on there. You realise a 6'5" and I probably would have been over 18 stone at the time, and you realise that's not the body shape to be good at plumbing, to get your hands behind toilet sinks, to
That's right.
fit up into attics and change pipes. It was zero mastery going on, Ryan. There was a couple of times I go to the van and my boss would say, "Oh, will you go and get this tool from the van?" And I'd open the door to the van and go like, "Right, what tool is that?" Like, I haven't got a clue. It was very humbling from that point of view. So no, it was like, it just gave me so much perspective in terms of, like, my boss would find it funny. We'd go to a couple of places and they'd have, say, like the Osprey squad photo up, like there'd be supporters in a house of Ospreys, and they'd have the squad photo up. He's like, "Oh, lucky you, lucky you," and I'm like, "Yeah, but we walk in other houses. No one cares that I'm your apprentice and I'm just with you. Like, they don't care. And like, I was like, I need to be treated like that, because when I finish playing, that's what I'm going to be treated like." And I got used to being like everybody else in terms, and I don't always think professional athletes get used to that, and I think that makes transition a little bit harder. Like, all those people cared about was we going to be finished by 3 o'clock, and when they offered a cuppa, did you want one or not? Like, they don't care about anything else. It was like, that was the only things. And for me, that was a brilliant lesson, because the rest of the time you go in and I'd go in into places, school visits, whatever, in my Ospreys tracksuit, and everybody would want to see you. They'd really appreciate your time. You'd almost be, I don't mean full premiere, but roll the red carpet out. But they would roll the red carpet out for you. You'd be treated different, and you sometimes think that's because of you, but it's not. It's because you're a professional athlete and
what you represent.
Yeah, and what you represent. And it's hard to remind players at times that, look, make the most of these doors being open to you because you're professional athletes, but look, they're opening the door for you a lot of the time because you're a professional athlete and not because of you. And you need to earn that respect, and you need to show them the value you can add, not just say you was once a professional athlete as well.
When did you start to realize that it was going to end? Yeah, that retirement was real.
I probably always, sad thing is, I probably always thought through my career, there was one 3-year contract early on in my career. I think I was about 24 to 27. That was rolling in, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. Yeah, I've got, like," I was rolling into that contract. I was like, "This is going to be a good contract." I was playing well. Things were going well. Like, I'd been injury free for quite a bit going into that contract. I was, you feel wanted. You feel like you could add value, even if you were going to choose to go elsewhere. Even though I didn't want to go elsewhere, but if I did have to, I felt like I could offer there and settle in anywhere. So that probably took me to about 27. But probably from about 27 to when I finished at 31, it was like, oh well, I should get my next contract, but I might not. So, like, being ready, and I always said I needed to be ready by 30 to, like, have my plan in place or anything. And still, even when I finished at 31, I didn't have
I was going
it.
to say, so what? No, you didn't have be
I
ready
had
for 30.
options, but not a plan.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess that's what I was going to jump in on. Is what did you mean have a plan?
I genuinely, very naively thought that there'd be a contract waiting for me outside. I thought I've met enough people, done enough work outside of the game to be able to go, I can just walk into this job. And there's a difference between, and I get into this quite a lot with players. There's a difference. Look, I could have lined up a job straight away for the day, walked out and got into a job. That wouldn't mean the job I wanted, though. So there's a difference between things aligning for the job you want it to be and the timing of that. That's really hard if you're going to be picky and choosy. But you can actually, yes, there would have been jobs for me that I could have walked straight out into, and that would have paid enough of a salary to pay the bills. But I was probably afforded myself the luxury of not having to do that by doing a bit of planning, thinking that things would come up. There were some sketchy months in between when you get into the last interview of like 2 or 3 jobs that you're really keen on, and then don't get. But I would like afforded myself that luxury of going, now these are the things I want to do, so I'm going to back myself. And one of the afforded luxuries was, instead of retiring straight away from professional rugby, I went down to semi-pro and thought, and I play semi-pro for a year or two, just tops up my wage, so I can take the job that I want to do rather than have to do as well.
How clear was that job that you thought you wanted to do then? As you tried, as you say, you had options, but you didn't have something concrete.
Yeah, not clear in all honesty. In terms of, there was quite a few different things that it could have been, but I
Like
also
what?
needed those roles to come out at the right time. So, like, in fairness, like so the role I'm doing now, the personal development manager role, I applied to do one of those over the bridge in England, which would have been a bit of travelling at the time. The job in Swansea University that I ended up getting, I went for it the first time, didn't get it. One of the other girls who I worked with for my first 2 years, she got the job, but then they were like, at the end of the interview, look, we're going to put another post out for this role in the next 2 weeks. Like, we'd love you to go for it. You are like, there was one of 2 of you, and like, we picked the other person, but we do want you on board. And it was like, okay, I don't know if they're telling me the truth now, but we'll see in a couple of weeks if it does come out or whatever.
How
Then
did it
there
feel
was,
knowing you were second best? She sounds
yeah,
like she'd become a good colleague, a good friend, but still.
yeah, I know. Look, it was tough at the time. It was.
Yeah.
I'll be honest as well. Like, humbly, I can say they made the right choice as well for me to be second choice. Like, so after it, you can deal with it. And it's funny as well, isn't it? Because winning and losing is the only thing you do in sport. And you go home and you tell your wife that you didn't get a job. But you got into the last 2 in like 3 or 4 different jobs, and they're like, wow, that's so class, like a job like that. And you got into the last 2, like first time applying, haven't been in any other work other than professional rugby. Like, it's brilliant. You even got into the last 2, you're like, brilliant, I didn't get the job. Like, I applied for a job, I didn't get it. Like, that's all you see is outcome from that placement. And that's why I speak to the players a lot. Like, if we can open a door for you now and people can set you up with a role for when you finish, that's amazing. But the rest of you will have to go through an application process. And there, when we were talking earlier around hard work, you still need a little bit of luck to go your way. Like, whether it's somebody who's thinking about applying who would be a better application than yours not applying, or whether it's somebody in the building going, I think athletes add so much value, I think like we should give this person a chance. Like, whatever that bit of luck is, and sometimes you don't even see that luck. You do need that going your way as well. And look, that's hard to deal with when we only deal in outcomes of winning and losing as well.
Yes, yeah. And you spoke there about options, and you had options, even into things that you perhaps wouldn't have really enjoyed, that that you could tell in your heart of hearts you didn't want to do. Interesting, then, you were able to make a decision about those options, because for many it's like, I've retired, I'm out of the game, I've got to go and do something else. Now, you did give yourself a buffer with semi-pro rugby, but how did you know what options were the right options for you?
Reading, listening, thinking, thinking around, really prioritizing. Right, when you left professional sport, what did you want? Little things like being able to, I knew I was never going to be in professional sport, but being able to take the kids to school, being able to be around a little bit more, giving me the flexibility that, so if you do want to play for another year or 2 in semi-pro, it gives you, whatever your job is, gives you enough time and flexibility to be able to do that. But also CPD for me, like, being able to carry on developing. I've been in a structured career. I've been jack of all trades in terms of what I've had interest in, but like, where's the area now you want to spend more time and focus in as well? And in the meantime, just before I'd finished professional rugby, I set up my own company, and that at the time, like, it's still going okay now, but like was going quite well. And I was like, I don't want to be on my own. I also doing something that in my own business that I'm really passionate about, that I don't want to have the pressure on there of I have to earn money, because I'm going to have to make different choices around that business rather than being for a better purpose. So there was quite a few things that went into it, and also like my wife's an unbelievable support to me. She's like you've been so happy through your career in what you do. Like, I can't think of anything worse than you being in a job where you hate what you're doing. You're as stressed as like you're sat in front of a computer and doing admin like I am all the time. I couldn't imagine what you're going to be like. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's a fair point. So it's that balance of her being like, I would rather you have a lesser salary and a bit of a smile on your face and a bit of energy about you rather than not have that. So I was afforded quite a lot of luxuries in that, right, as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, and that's good. It's good to have that support and around you, but also kind of not a mirror, but someone who can reflect back to you what they see in you, what they think's important to you. So, like you say, it reaffirms. It's something that goes, yeah, you'd be better doing that. You'll be a great person if you do that. So you've got that full support, and that's often a missed element when we think about that transition, making a good decision.
Yeah, and also explaining what they need as well. Like, don't be scared to say it as well. Like, I have sometimes the other way around where players are like, their partner's like, oh, go and do what you want to do. And I'm like, do you know, though, that the maximum, say, salary in this is only that? Like, can you live with that as a family? No, we can't live with that. Well, like, let's be realistic as well, the other way around. Don't be scared to say your needs from that point of view. And look, it always comes back to clear communication. And we're just as a personal development manager, you're a small part of that, but you need to ask a few difficult questions at times players look at you like, are you really asking me that? And I'm like, well, look, you don't have to give me the answer, but you do have to think about it as well.
That's right, and it's putting that thought in their mind, and it because sometimes look, as athletes, you know what you know, and if they're not naturally as adventurous, perhaps as energetic as yourself, trying to take all those opportunities around the game whilst playing, it's when we pose that question and leave that with them to think, well, yeah, I don't know, but even if it hits them a week later or whatever it might be, at least it's begun.
Yeah, 100%. And look, you never know. It's one of those, isn't it? When you plant something, you never know when's the first time it's going to rear its head from the ground. But if you give it enough support, enough of what it needs around it, it will rear its head at some point. So it's just dropping that question, giving enough support and guidance that if they do want to come back with anything, they can. Or hoping that you've put enough support in place that it stimulates a conversation away from you as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested then, the role ultimately that you took, the principal role at university. Talk to us about what that role was and how you transitioned into it.
Yeah, so that role was, the title of the role was Athlete Support Officer. So we had 95 scholarship athletes across 17 different sports, across all academic ranges within the university. We had somebody on in every under every umbrella across the university. So it was fascinating to see the differences in commitments to training, to being an elite athlete, and then also to studies as well, because obviously each course has different demands. So yeah, it was a fascinating role in that sense. And it was me and the other girl, Verity, who'd got the role before me, doing it. And yeah, it was just a brilliant space to not only develop myself but ask questions to learn more, but also because you had a range of different people coming through the door for every meeting. You learn so much around that personal space and how to make different people feel valid, trusting of you, your service, making sure that you added value. Yeah, and it was like a perfect. I said to somebody the other day, it was like a perfect transition role for me. It was
Why
enough.
so?
Yeah,
What
it was
was it that?
enough space to fall over, but somebody was going to catch you before you fell on your face. So that's you could
Yeah.
trip yourself over. You could ask dull questions. Like I remember asking somebody in the office. There was this Excel spreadsheet. I was like, "How do I add another column to this?" And they all looked at me, laughing their heads off. And I'm like, "Well, I'm not being funny, but I've never done this. I've never had a need to do this." And it's those, and even though they would laugh and they would joke about it, they bring it back up. I know, as my Secret Santa present that year, I had an Excel spreadsheet cup that had all the different formulas on there that everybody would have a giggle about. But it was supported in terms of, well, fine, you had different skills to this. So when we need to present something, we'll do the PowerPoint together, but like you deliver it because you're better front of house from that point of view. So it was using skills, but also not hiding away from the skills that hadn't been developed, which was daunting at times.
And so, what do you think helped you be successful in that role?
I think being lived experience is huge. I think that I do feel that it probably gets you somewhere where it takes a long time for other people to build into that. And look, that's not saying to, as soon as anybody walks through the door, "Hi, I'm Lloyd, I'm the ex-professional rugby player." Like, it's not doing that, but it's going, when somebody says to you, "Oh, look, yeah, my motivation's really low at the moment because I'm injured," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I understand. I know from my point of view, when I done my ACL, I felt like this, and this. I don't know if any of that resonates to you." And all of a sudden they're going, "Oh, you've been through it, have you?" Yeah, I've been through that side of things. Or it's somebody made a mistake on the weekend, like playing, and you go in. Yeah, I completely understand. I can't tell you how many times I've been dropped from making mistakes. Then they're going, okay, yeah. So but then it's also like in the good times, going, somebody's just been selected for like a world champs, and you go in, look, that's brilliant. I'm not going to be the person to burst your bubble, but also you've got 3 exams in the build up to that. So how are we going to manage your time on the build up to that? I know what it's like to have the inflated success around you, but also have to things you have to get done. So like, how are we going to balance this up together? And I mean, you on your own in this, we can balance this up together. So I think that lived experience of being through it was a big one. The fact that, because I knew I didn't know everything, I was happy to say I didn't know everything as well, to be going, look, if they said, "Oh, I don't know how I do this on my course," okay, let me chase that up for you. I don't know either, but I'll chase that up for you and get it back to you in the next 24 to 48 hours.
And that takes a sense of humility to accept that you don't know everything. And you opened, we spoke at the start around mastery and how that's something that you truly value, and yet here's you recognizing, accepting that you're not a master of all of these things.
Yeah.
Is it
Maybe that's
still
why I respect mastery so much, though, because I've never got anywhere near mastery in anything. So I'm like, wow, for you people who've dedicated all your time, your research, your money, your energy into mastering different things, it's unbelievable that you've stayed on course to master that as well.
Yeah. Well, look, there is a thing where you can be you might not know how to create a map, but you can be an expert map reader. And I guess what you're in a position doing is, whilst you don't know the answers to how to create everything, you're good at bit of finding the signs, the signals to direct people to where they should be or where they can be in a better place. And I'm interested then, as a PDM now, does we opened up this feels like the right type of role for you, and there's a lot of the signposting in that. How did you make then that next shift from being a student athlete manager at uni towards being then the PDM and being sort of back in the changing room?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. I was during my time at the university there. There was a lot of opportunities for CPD, so I managed to get some of my qualifications done around athlete performance lifestyle. Managed to get that qualification done. Managed to do quite a few other little bits of CPD that I wanted to get done. And all that time I was still lead for mental health and wellbeing for the Welsh Rugby Players Association. So I was still dipping my toes in, doing the talks around mental health and wellbeing, but not on the ground full time. So I kept my links there. And the personal development manager who was at Ospreys was amazing guy, Tim Jones, like very, very, very good guy, like loved by everybody, really good at hearing people, listening to people, and knowing what to do with that information as well. And I remember going, we'd always still catch up after. I'd go for a coffee once in a while, and I had a missed call off him one day, and he was like, "Oh, I'm thinking about giving up." Thinking about finally retiring from it. He was an ex-police officer, so he had, I think he thought he was going to do 2 or 3 years as a personal development manager, then fell in love with it and stayed for 7 years. And I think he was like, our family's changing, it's the time now to step away. And he was like, if I am going to step away, like I'd love you to not have the job, but have the opportunity to have the job. So like, would you be interested in it? Because before I go, I think I owe it to the players and the club to put as many good people up for this opportunity as possible. And so we sort of sat down and I was like, look, I think I understand your role. I think I understand and see it more now because I've done this at a university. I think I could add different things, but like, let's sit down and go through it. So we spent 3 hours one day going through like the nitty gritties, the conversations, do you actually want to be back on the ground? Where should my boundaries be that his boundaries hadn't been? And the fact that my lifestyle was different to his lifestyle, so we could commit different things. And we got into it and I was like, I think I'd really like to do it. So just go home, speak to my wife and go like, this opportunity's coming up. What do you think about it? Like, go through it, and it was sort of, as long as this and this is still in place, because I love having you for this and this. And I was like, okay, I think I can manage it so that it does have that still in place, and then go through the normal interview process. Obviously, very lucky that it was with my ex-club where you're able to go, I think I still understand enough from being on the ground. I think I did never. You obviously see a lot of athletes fall out with clubs when they leave, feel like they deserved a little bit more from the club, or the club feels like they deserved a little bit more from them. I was very lucky I didn't leave on those grounds, and then you sort of, when you're glad you've left that bridge wide open in terms of like that relationship. You're glad that you can go back in there, speak your truth from your personal opinion, and also that I feel from my relationship with the players that were still in the room, or the players who I'd played against from a semi-pro point of view over the last couple of years who were now progressing into that pro team, I felt like that they would respect where it come from. And I do also feel that leaving 2 years to go in a different organisation taught me so much, good and bad, of different things. So you can bring it back with a much better outlook and experience to come back in, and it just felt like the right time. And I remember getting asked in my interview, like there had been posts that went out, say 6 months before that, in the other clubs, and I hadn't gone for them. And it was like, oh, why now? Why, like, you didn't go for it last time? And I was like, it wasn't the right time. And I'll be honest, I would probably prefer this to be another 6 months down the line, in all honesty. But I'd regret the fact of, from a window point of view, somebody's likely to come into this role, stay there 4 years, and 4 years is too long as well. So being honest around, and I think everybody looked at me a bit like, well, you're admitting that even now is not the right time. And I was like, I'm still learning in Swansea University. I've still got loads to learn from that point of view. So, but I do feel like I can genuinely add value right now coming in as well.
Yes. And I think a couple of bits interesting about that situation. And one is, we talk about the power of your network, and there you are having a conversation about a role before it came up.
Yeah.
And, one of those things, and it meant that you got 3 hours with the individual doing it at that time. And you had the relationship with them, of course, but they contacted you, and you were able to spend that time really understanding, well, what are the key facets of this role? How, what value can I bring? Which, means that you know more, and more as you go into that interview stage, and you can be true, honest and open about, well, what can I bring to this role, and why do I want it?
Yeah, and also being very comfortable and being different. Like from, like there was, we sort of sat down and was like, what's the non-negotiables like for this role from your opinion, my opinion? You're a player, you like, Tim was like, you're a player, you've been through it. What was the non-negotiables if you were going to engage with me? Okay, have you got those? Okay, what he's like, these are the extra things I've probably done that, like they're up to you if you do, but also be comfortable not doing those things. And then it was like, okay, what different though? What's the different values you're going to add? And then like we talked about past experience, playing experience, and he was like we laugh and joke at him, and he's like at times he's like, I picked up the pads so the boys could smash me and tackle me because I wanted to earn respect in that sense. Whereas, mate, don't worry, you're not going to have to pick up a pad. They've seen you batter yourself for years, so you don't have to pick up those things. But being able to have that, like you said, that insight, right? We all think we know, or we think we see what other people do, but unless you really sit back and have that time with them, you don't understand it, and then you only understand it a small percentage of till you go into that role and do it properly as well.
Yeah. So, look, I guess I'm now thinking probably a couple of questions left. One is, you talk about being in this role, coming into it now, and so when you say to yourself, there's perhaps a limited time of the value you can bring and what's going on. What does that mean next for you? Where do you see your future going?
I honestly don't know, but it doesn't worry me at all as well. I'm like very love where I am. Carry on developing as a person, and you will find something that makes sense. Like there's some of the time I'm going to find out things for players, and I'm like, oh wow, that role sounds really interesting, and like you get intrigued and you find out a little bit more, and you're like, oh okay, maybe you could pursue that in a couple of years' time. But you're like, now's not the right time for that. I wouldn't like to do it. And others, you go, wow, I'd love to know a bit more about that. You find out more and you're like, wow, I'd hate to do that job. I'm so glad I don't do that job. So whether people admit to it or not, there's always a level of self-interest when you go to find out other things. And I'm very comfortable admitting that. But I'm definitely, like, you're definitely not going into things looking or trying to pursue those things. But it is really interesting finding out about other people's roles. And I love knowing what people do, because we spend so much of your time at work, but we know like hardly anything about what other people's jobs are or actually are. We just know like the title. So to be able to find out more, like I got some ex-players now in different roles, and I'm ringing them. I'm like, oh, what's this like? What's this like? And they're like, why are you so interested? I'm like, well, it's because you're doing it, but I know nothing about it. I want to know more about it. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, like half hour later, they're telling you about the good, the bad, and the ugly in that role as well. And I'm like, look, if I had sent a player to you, you wouldn't have told him all these things about it. So I need you to have, when I send a player your way, these are the conversations you need to have. I need to know the good, the bad, the realistic terms. I don't want just the red card. Oh, it's brilliant, I earn this much a year. I want the fact of, yeah, but I'm away 4 nights a week, or when they put us up in terrible accommodation, or whatever the bad side. Oh, I've got to be on my phone 24/7. I want them to know that side. Or for the people who hate their jobs, I want them to know the good side of it as well, because otherwise you're just going to tell them the bad side of the job. So there's that balancing up, and to be able to find that out about people and see what different people like in different roles. Like I know I've got some players now who absolutely love working from home. I got other players who hate it, and you're like, okay, I can't tell everybody now to work from home. Like, how do we balance that up? Well, let's speak to both people. Some who work from home, some who don't, so you can balance that conversation up yourself as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's great. So, last question, really. When you get players coming up to you now, or in the roles that you've got, what advice do you give to them about setting themselves up for that second wind in life?
It's really interesting because you've got 50 different personalities. So every conversation's a little bit different. I think it's more the niches you're going to hang on to. Is it the fact that somebody's got a family, so you go in like, hey, what does it need to look like around your family? Is your most important thing being around, or is your most important thing providing for them? Or if you're talking to a young athlete, it's like, okay, I understand your focus is on rugby, but we're also got a short-term career. How are we going to start drip feeding education? have you thought about, look, you've had a really good year, your next year your contract's probably going to be a lot bigger than it is now. How much of that money do you actually need? Let's put a financial plan in place, even if it's not an educational plan and a professional development point of view. It's speaking to the senior players at times and going, like, look, how long do you think it's going to take you to get a job? And then some of them are like, think they're going to walk into one. Some of them don't think anything of it, and then it might be going, right, I personally would love it if you were planned for a year of not having a salary, so you know that you're comfortable for that year and you can find a job you want. Other players from that point of view is going, you haven't done anything. Have you had the conversation with your partner to say, how much do you need to earn next year when you're away from rugby? And then, so it's breaking it down with every person. It's slightly different. For some of them, it's an arm round. For other of them, it's a direct conversation. For other of them, it's like, right, do you want to see what I've done? See if any of that like sparks your interest. For others, it's like, have you spoke to, remember so-and-so used to play with us? Have you spoke to him since he's retired? No, I haven't spoke to him. Speak to him about his job. See what you think about it. So for every player, is so different, and your relationship with that player, from the people that I'm still very close, probably to, they wouldn't like to admit it, but most of them very close to the end of their career, the players who I played with, and still there. And then you go in, that conversation slightly different to the younger players coming in who you haven't played rugby with, but then there's other players who've already been in education. You're like, mate, just keep drip feeding that education through. You don't have to do another degree, but maybe something. So you're already in that flow of learning. So carry on that learning now, rather than stop for 2 years and then try and start going again. But yeah, right, I'd love to have a textbook answer for you where we go, this is what I'd say, but it's just a fascinating role of so many different personalities.
Well, it is, but what you've really focused in on there are different strategies to get to that answer. We know it's coming, but it isn't a one thing, or there aren't here the two things that everyone must do, because what you're talking about is that engagement. And look, that's one of the reasons why we do the show, why we do what we do, is trying to get as many different, many different opportunities for others to see how could this happen, because we can't get everybody in the same way.
No, and it is so different and so frustrating at times as well that it is so different, because I'm like, right, look, so and so's doing this, just go and do it. But you look,
it's like you said, it makes it fun. It's what makes it fun. It's what takes away the fact of it being boring. The same thing every day is the fact that there are so many athletes, so many players that we're working with, and it's actually our skill has to be establishing that relationship, finding out where they want to go, and as you say, perhaps charting that plan on the map for them. So listen, Lloyd, there are going to be people watching, listening to this who are going to think, oh, I want to reach out, I want to have a chat. Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, probably LinkedIn. Probably do most of those professional side of things from a conversational point of view. So Lloyd Ashley on LinkedIn, that is probably, I'd say, right, that's the easiest and best place for that. And I mean this, I don't, like, obviously your network is global, but if there's anybody ever in Wales that wants to come and shadow, wants to come and see what a day in the role is like, or pick up the phone around what a day in the or our life is like and where best to go, like, please feel free to reach out, because for me, I always reach out to different connections. Like we were talking earlier around us having a conversation 2 years ago, because I reached out to you from seeing the work you do, and we talked about into some niche parts of the roles there, and where I wanted to do some CPD at the time, and I really appreciated it, and that I do as much of that as I can as well the other way around, because there's so many amazing people around the world of sport that want to help, but some people don't always know where to start. And yeah, feel free, if you're ever interested in that personal development manager or player care role, that please feel free to reach out from that point of view as well.
I love that. Lloyd, last time I just got to say massive thanks for catching up again, but also for taking the time out of your day, enjoying the sunshine in Wales. It's a good advert.
Don't hear that much.
That's it. So listen, thanks again for taking the time out. Loved hearing about your perspective as a former player and PDM.
Thank you for your time, Ry. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work, mate.